Ravi Kodukula, thank you for taking out your time to be on this channel, Kahanis Golden Bytes. Thank you for your time, Ravi.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Joby. Thanks for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you once again. So, Ravi, for the benefit of our viewers, could you just share a little bit about your background, what you're doing, what you've done a little bit so that they have an idea, Ravi?
Sure, definitely. In fact, Joby, I would want to call myself a true Indian. I speak a bit of Odia. We speak Telugu at home. The first 7 years were in West Bengal, so I speak Bengali. My next 30 years were in Delhi, so I talk in Hindi, I love in Urdu, and I drive in Punjabi. And for the last 11 odd years, I've been here in Navi Mumbai. I'm not a Mumbaiker, I'm a Navi Mumbaiker. And that gives me some kind of a peace and space, primarily because I've lived in Delhi and Gurgaon for a good part of my life. So it gives me that kind of a mind space as well as a physical space. Professionally, I have a hotel management qualification. Then I have a sociology qualification. And then as it goes, it's the passion for the country or passion of the country, MBA. I've done that as well. Very recently, 2 years ago, I completed my MRes or Masters in Research from Lancaster University. And this was more as a precursor to my PhD program, which I have yet to enroll, but I will. Kind of journey that I've had professionally, of course, the first couple of years after my hotel qualification was in the hotels. A couple of great brands to know. And after which I shifted into the financial services sector. I was doing for a good part of the first few years. And as the adage goes, when you can't do, you train. So from doing, and I was one of the first, I must take pride in this, one of the first call center representatives, so to say, even before the call centers were born in the country. So after which I moved into travel service, then I moved into training in card services with one of the best financial services firms in the world. And after which I spent a few years here and there in some of the other financial services and IT firms. But for the last 8 years, I'm perched with a leading global financial services and banking brand in the world. So this is what I do for a living. But of course, it's more of living with a passion for what I do. So the next stage of the same adage that I was talking about, when you can't do, you train. And when you can't train, you consult. So I'm yet to get there to that stage, but very soon, perhaps sometime when I decide to hang my boots up, I would love to do that. Or maybe there are plans B as well. I would love to teach at universities, not one, not two, but many. And that is my dream job. My dream is to die like Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, inside a classroom.
Wow, Ravi, that is rich, that is powerful. And you're trying to, knock me out with that punch and all the other viewers with that punch. But that's so beautiful to hear, Ravi. That's, amazing to hear. Your experience is so wide. You've worked with some of the best global companies, that people would love to be associated with in some form or manner. You're a leader there, a successful leader. Let me just sidestep for a moment and take you back a few decades to your school days, your college days. Were you always the bookworm? Were you always studying in school and college? Just books, Ravi?
No, not at all, Joby. That's not true because much of my life was outdoors. Cricket was a favorite, both watching as well as playing. Watching was much more fascinating for me because at a particular point in time in my life, I thought I wanted to be a cricket commentator. That is primarily because I used to enthrall my neighborhood with switching off the audio on the TV and doing the commentary myself. And that used to be a good attraction for a good number of people. I was versed with languages. Music was definitely one of the biggest passions of life, primarily because our day at home used to start with music. I still remember that small little tape recorder, Murphy tape recorder that my father used to have, and he used to play those audio cassettes. And I mean, it was good. Radio was one of the main fallback options for entertainment. And radio used to be perennially on at home till All India Radio used to decide they used to take a break at around 10:30 or 11 in the morning, and then it used to come back in the afternoon or something. So I remember that was a constant source of and a companion of entertainment. Music, as I say, or dance as equally, as I say, you sing like nobody is hearing you, and you dance like nobody is looking at you. So having said that, the idea was I do sing because I would like for people to hear me. As they say in Hindi, for every tansen, you need at least 100 kansens. So I would love to believe I'm a good tansen, and I garner the support of at least a few kansens, if not 100.
So Ravi, it's just fascinating to hear. You're pursuing your PhD, in line with for that. You're studying right now, but you're also enjoying a lot. And you mentioned a lot about music. Do you still have that kind of a hobby with you? How do you go about it? I mean, you once in a while just sit down and.
Oh yes, absolutely. In fact, that has been alive for quite some time. I'm told as a kid, my parents and my close relatives, my uncles, etc., do tell me that I picked up my first song that I won a prize for in Delhi by hearing somebody sing that song on the terrace where we used to live. So I just heard it once. I picked that song. It was a Telugu song. I picked it up and I sang it at the next opportune moment at a public ceremony or a celebration of music. And then I was hardly 8 years of age at that time, and I had won this prize. So I think I had it as a passion from that particular time onwards. Apart from that, I do come from a family where the rest of the family members also are kind of tansen, so to say. My wife is a good singer. My children have taken to it as well. My son is now, who's 19, he's put up some of his covers very recently, and he does a decent job of that. He wants to be in the media world. So it flows in the family. For myself, I think it started from that age or much earlier than that, and then I continue that up.
So Ravi, you enjoy your singing. Do you think it's helped you in some form or manner? I mean, in the sense that would life have been better if you only worked, or would you or are you happy because you have the singing as part of your whole life, your whole personality? Has it helped you in any way? Do you definitely seem to enjoy it if you're still carrying on with it. What about people who don't have anything as a hobby, or just focused on work? That's it, and have put their hobbies or interests. These are loose words, but their interests, etc. To the side. What's your take on that, Ravi?
When we work inside organizations, we might think we may be constrained by a few things, but that is again in your mind. If you enjoy doing what you're doing, you build, or you rather turn those constraints in your favor and do what you have to do. Outside of work, and a good part of life is where we all nurture our hobbies. And each one of us has our own hobbies. I have maybe more than one. Music is one of them. And I write as well, and I love writing. I love satire. I love humor. And so much so that, Joby, I must confess, over the last 10 months that I've been at home, and whenever I use humor in my conversations with my work colleagues, for example, my wife and my kids turn up right next to me and say, "You're lying." So that is primarily because at times, when you have to have those conversations, I bring my family in, I bring my boss in, I bring my colleagues, my peers, my team, my other friends into those conversations, because that enriches the conversation. And in a space that I am, like teaching or training or education for that matter, it is much more important that I maintain that. And primarily because, for example, if I were in a work situation or a work from work situation, not work from home, and if I were to stand inside a classroom for 2 days, I'm just taking that as an example. And if I were to just read the content from my books, my trainer books, so to say, and teach leadership lessons from leadership books, that would be a drab. Everybody would fall asleep within the first 20 minutes. Then you need to have that lively nonsense of humor, so to say, which brings things to life. So some of those are important. Both my wife and I are so passionate about music. I was in Manila on work about 4 years ago, and I was feeling lonely after a day's work, and it was just a day before I got back onto the flight back to come back to India, and I thought of singing her a song. I sang her a song on karaoke. I put that up on the Facebook, and I forgot about it. Not only were there views, which were quite a few, but then I also saw that the next morning, Smita, my wife, she put up a response to that song.
Wow.
On Facebook. And
wow.
Obviously, both those songs were complementary to each other in terms of how we were missing each other. So I think if you are passionate about your hobby, or if you're passionate about some of the things that you would want to do in life, so there are avenues to be creative about this as well. Now, to your question, has my hobby helped me in any way? In a way that, well, I don't know if you meant commercially gainful, but personally meaningful.
Yeah, personally.
Yeah.
It could be commercial, but more personally as an individual to yourself.
Yeah. So personally meaningful, yes, definitely. And I do take time out for that, because wherever I have lived. I've lived in Delhi, as I said, lived in Gurgaon and Gurugram, so to say, and now in Mumbai, Navi Mumbai. Everywhere I have found people who are equally passionate about music and passionate about arts. There are these avenues for you to go across to some of these concert halls. In Mumbai, there's the Opera House, then there is NCPA, for example, which is National Center for Performing Arts in Colaba. Is that Colaba? Nariman Point. Yeah. So some of these places, and then Delhi had City Ford Auditorium when I was growing up. So some of these places were actually very good avenues for me to really observe, really listen to, see what's happening in that space. In fact, I must say, I have been an usher. I don't know if you remember this organization called Spick Mackey.
Yeah. Yes.
It's still alive,
yes.
but I thought it was much more alive when I was younger. I used to be a part of Spick Mackey, and I used to support them in many ways, particularly in the concerts that used to happen at Spick Mackey. I used to be an usher. I was a teenager, and it was a thrill to seat people in their seats and then show them their seats, etc. And also have an opportunity to meet the artists backstage. So some of those things really kept me going. Apart from that, today, when I look back, I think I remember one single person in my life who used to live for the weekends. And I know you know him, but I won't take his name. So he used to often say, what is our life during the week of 7 days? Our life is actually those 2 days towards the end of the week. And I work my butt off during the first 5 days to make those 2 days happen for myself. And that was a real huge inspiration for me, because I always used to think earlier on in life that we are working, and there used to be times when we used to work on the weekends as well, work as in do the kind of work that needs to be done to take care of the business. But then that person changed my outlook altogether. So what I'm saying is, this is important for us to figure that time out. And I do not see why a lot of people say I do not have time for my passion or my hobbies or whatsoever. You have to be honest to yourself to be able to make time for that. Last weekend, I was invited to a community of singers, rather a few people who were passionate about music, none of them great singers, including myself. But we had invited a celebrity. We had invited Sharon Prabhakar.
Oh, okay.
And Sharon was there, listened to all of us with a lot of patience. And she has promised she would want to cut an album with one or two of us, whosoever qualified, in her own book of how she thought it could be done. So some of these are shaping into, or rather turning your hobby into something that could be very personally meaningful.
Lovely, Ravi. Thank you so much for your time. I won't take more of your time. I know you're very, very busy and hard to get. I want to take this opportunity once again to just thank you for being on this channel. Thank you very much, Ravi.